Hello everyone, and welcome to another live Voice Essentials Hangout. It is so good to be with you after a couple of weeks. Yes, it has been a couple of weeks. If you're watching this show on replay, welcome. It is so good to have you. Most of you watch this as a replay. It's also good to see so many people jumping into the live chat. As we get going today, hey, just before, I don't want to forget to do this, I want to give a shout out to Michelle. She's actually in the live chat today. Michelle Arakowa. I'm not going to be able to say your last name correctly, Michelle. Michelle is, Michelle, I think single-handedly has helped to raise the watch time of the Voice Essentials YouTube channel because she has been watching virtually every single video, beginning to end, over the last, it must be 4 or 5 weeks, Michelle, and leaving really detailed comments, which I've been reading and enjoying. Michelle, I'm so pleased you're getting so much out of the channel, and thank you for engaging so readily. You are an encouragement and an inspiration, so thank you for taking the time to be so engaged with the content, because this, in many respects, this Voice Essentials thing is a bit of a labor of love, and it's so good to know that people like Michelle are receiving so much from their time here. And I know that many of you who are watching as a replay and also are in the live chat have also, over the last few years, been getting some good stuff out of the channel, which you are going to get again today, because we have got another special guest for you, Jess Baldwin, and I'm looking forward to introducing you to this multi-gifted, talented person. She is wonderful, and I know that you're going to get a lot out of her experience as a pedagogue and as a performer, as a teacher. There's so much that she has to offer. Before we dive in, I do just want to give you a personal update as to why we cancelled last week's show. As you know, as many of you would know, we had our studio showcase last Sunday, and if you're interested, you can, via the website, Djarts.com.au, you can go looking for those, both of those performances. They're both fully recorded, and you can watch the shows. There were some really great performances from all of my students. Every student who steps up into my showcases, they're all ticking different boxes. You know, there's levels of experience and expertise, but I know that you would enjoy watching them. That aside, in the midst of all of that, I kind of pranged my car. And I've since learned, did $11,000 worth of damage to the car. And it was a massive blah. And it happened immediately before the sound check for the afternoon show. Absolute disaster. I'm pretty sure I didn't give away that it had happened to my performers. They were already had performance anxiety, was peaking, so I was able to keep that to myself and my wife, who was gracious but nonetheless concerned. And long story short, the insurance has covered it all. I am fully insured, and I'm glad that is all sort of in action now. The car is getting fixed, and it's all okay. For those of you who asked, and I think I reassured everyone on the Voice Essentials Facebook group page, if you're not involved in that, you need to be. Come looking for us, Voice Essentials Community Facebook group. I didn't get hurt. It was such a slow impact, to the point where I didn't even realize the amount of damage that I'd done. I won't go into how I made such a massive error of judgment. I felt like a real fool. But nonetheless, it is what it is. It's behind us now for the most part, at least until we get the car back in a couple of weeks. And it's all good. So thank you for those of you who left very kind messages of support and concern in the Voice Essentials community group. I'm okay. Everyone's okay. The car's going to be okay. You know, it's surprising, isn't it, that, you know, given Jodie's, our last 12 months with Jodie having had bowel cancer, it kind of everything kind of gets put into that frame now, and it gives us a good sort of sounding, a good touchstone of relativity to remind myself that, hey, it's only a car, it's only money. At the end of the day, everyone's okay, and it's all going to be fine. So there you go. There's my little piece of news. Let's put that behind us and let's get into today's show. As I said, you are going to really enjoy our guest today. I hope you'll stick around, and I'll introduce you to her in just a moment.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Hey Jess, thank you for
Hello.
joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It is so good to have you on the show, and you and I have only really personally met today, but we have interacted for quite some time, have we not? On Facebook and through our mutual friends and what have you. There's this growing community of pedagogues, isn't there? Internationally, and it's wonderful to finally get to meet ones like yourself who I feel like I've personally resonated with for so long, and to then get to chat before the show today and to understand, that's why we resonate, because we're just birds of a feather, it would seem. So
yeah, when I started compiling a bunch of resources on contemporary pedagogy, your name popped up a lot with the research that you had done in your degrees.
Oh,
that's Dan Robinson.
Yeah, who is that crazy Aussie? and look, I come from Brisbane. You come from Columbus, Ohio, which you just showed me on a map where that is, because I didn't know. And for those who are not in the know as to America and what have you, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about where you hail from? And
yeah, I'm originally from West Virginia, which is in the Appalachian Mountains that run across sort of the eastern half of the United States. And Ohio is just barely to the left of that, or to the left, I'm looking at a map in my mind, just barely west of the Appalachian Mountains. And then Columbus is right in the middle of Ohio,
cool.
The capital.
Cool. Now, one of the reasons why you and I have kind of connected, I guess, in a sense, is that you are a quite closely connected, I guess, with a mutual friend and colleague, Dr. Matthew Edwards, who has been here on the show before. And you're connected through Shenandoah Institute. Tell us a bit more about your involvement with that group.
Matt and I actually went for the first time in the same year, which was 2009. And we went and then just fell in love with what was happening and continued to go. At a certain point, Matt became the pop rock coach at Shenandoah University for the musical theater department. And then I continued to go, and I live more in the private studio realm.
Yes.
So that's where I focused my teaching and just kept going back summer after summer. Eventually, Matt was named the head of, the artistic director of the Institute. And then I came on 2 summers ago, I believe, as an assistant faculty member.
Yeah, right.
And it's just a great place for people to come and learn about lots of different approaches to contemporary vocal pedagogy. Matt does a really great job of giving a survey of what's out there and actually pulling in from some classical pedagogy resources too that spoke to that stuff over the years, and then also pulling in the modern pedagogues who are doing that stuff. It's a really great community of people.
Cool. I've just pulled up your website, which I encourage everyone to go and check out. And you've got some great shots in this, and I think it gives everyone a good overview of the various hairstyles that you explore. But really encourage everyone to go and check out jessbaldwin.com. And you can sort of click in here and learn more about Jess's teaching I love this, Jess. This sing your true colors. What inspired that statement? Because I think it's fabulous.
Well, I've been working my way through a book that helps you get more clear about your focus in your business, whatever kind of business that is.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was thinking about the kinds of people that really light me up to work with, I thought, I really love very colorful people.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that I love to work with. I'm kind of a geek myself, so geeky people and weirdos and people on the fringes, and just colorful people. And as I was working through ways to put that into my verbiage so that people knew quickly, that's what I love about clients, ideal clients, that I don't know, it was like 3 pages of verbiage, and that one came out. I was like, oh, that's the one.
That is the one. It's fabulous. I saw
you.
that and went, that is so cool.
Thank you.
To come up with something so succinct, and I think in so many, it just encapsulates what we as singing teachers are seeking to do, and I want to delve into that with you in a little bit. But before we do, I also just want to draw people's attention to this resource. So both these links, everyone, are in the description section of today's video. This is possibly, I think, where I first came into contact with you, Jess. And this commercial voices, voiceresources.com. And there's just some really good content here that I think I just wanted to highlight for people, and people can join up to the blog, can they not?
Oh yeah,
Jess, and I'll just click on that and see where it takes us. And so you can always jump in there and join up to the blog, which I really encourage everyone to do. And
we bring multiple teachers on to do blogs, so it's not just me blogging.
Yeah, right.
We're pulling in lots of different people to contribute.
Yeah, some really great stuff there. So I want to really encourage everyone to go and check that out. So, Jess, let's dive into today's topic, which is basically body, mind, and voice. It's this sense of connecting, and that sense of connectedness. And if we are truly going to sing our true colours, then I think this idea of the holistic singer is so important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other half of that tagline was that something I feel is really important is to help people figure out who their most authentic selves are, and then to help that come through in their singing, right? And the things that make you weird and the things that make you, you want those to come through in your voice. And especially when I started working with primarily people who live in popular music genres, uniqueness is a huge part of that.
So
and
big.
So it has to be,
yes,
you have to be yourself.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like. And uncovering that happens in the voice. It happens in other arenas too that affect the voice.
Yeah.
Which can be in, well, for me personally, sort of in my own journey, what I didn't expect to learn after having gotten classical degrees, a bachelor's and master's. After that, I started doing body work, and it was very eye-opening to, for the first time, connect with my body in a way that I had not been asked to before. Working with areas of tension that I was just not aware of or hadn't known how to deal with. And someone walking me through those and experiencing the changes that were happening in my voice and then also in my person, which I didn't think were going to happen. But it just was testament to me that, man, this stuff really is connected, and was very helpful for singing. in ways I didn't expect.
You've written a comment here, and I always ask my guests to write some topics that are of interest to them. And there's a sentence here that sort of jumped out to me, and I want to kind of this in kind of speaks to what we were just talking about, but it kind of may take us down a different tributary. That's not the right word. Anyway, singers. Move on, Daniel. Singers are elite athletes who just happen to use tiny muscles you mostly can't see. So when we talk about those tensions and the stuff that you sometimes can't be aware of, if you've got a student in front of you and you're working with a body that is not yours, it's someone else's, talk to me about what you talk about with that sort of elite athlete approach.
The hardest thing, I think, is that the muscles involved in singing, those tiny muscles in the larynx, not only can we not really see them, we also can't feel them very well.
Yeah.
And people, I think in general in our bodies, we're used to, when we want to work hard at something or do something better, we want to have a sense that we're feeling that muscle work harder. And since we can't really feel that way in the throat in the same way, one of the hardest things to do is to work with people in releasing any sense of having to work hard in this area. Because almost always if they're not working hard in the muscles that are actually supposed to be doing the jobs, the tiny muscles. They're probably working hard in neck muscles or jaw muscles or the tongue, that stuff that's not actually helping, it's usually hindering.
Yes.
And it's probably working hard in place of some of the others that could be working a little more to express whatever emotion needs to be expressed in that moment. Maybe the arms need to be more active, or your legs need to be more active, or your abdominals need to, some of those other big muscle areas, and they're not as active, and we're all sort of frozen up in that area. So from an elite athlete perspective, that's the hardest one, is turning off this idea that this should feel like we're working hard, but turning on the concepts of that when we teach these little muscles that we can't feel very well to do new things, that we're going to be clumsy at it at first. We don't expect someone to be a great three-pointer shooter right away. They're going to miss a lot. And then even when they get some, they're still going to miss some. So with singing, there's something about being okay with making some sounds that don't feel great, but are necessary to build motor learning in those little muscles. That's a hard part of it, but repetition, and working consistently with it so that those muscles continue to get exercise. So not just once a week with your teacher, but regularly between those lessons, so that those muscles get the hang of it. So we build the motor learning and we strengthen the muscles that are actually supposed to be doing what they're doing, which again won't feel like they're working hard. We'll just know they're doing what they're supposed to be doing because the sound is coming through in the way that it's supposed to come through. We have to just trust the muscles are doing what they're supposed to be doing with the help of our teacher giving us, yes, that's what's supposed to sound like when you do this right.
It's something that I think, and I mostly teach adults, young, older teenagers into adults, and it's something that I notice a lot is that and I think it's a societal thing, we don't embrace new experiences well. And I'm making a generalization here, but as children we explore and we try new things and we regularly fail, and that's okay because it's new. But yet as the adult learner, it can be very different in the sense that you give someone something new and they fail. That can be really jolting to that learner. And I'm constantly encouraging, adult learners. It's okay. You're not expected to get it right the first time. This is going to be a process of skill acquisition, and it's going to take time for this to happen. How do you encourage your students, your learners, through those initial phases of taking on new skills?
I find it to be a pretty difficult balance of introducing new skills that are manageable for them. And that's my job as the teacher, is to figure out, what amount of newness is comfortable for the student. And sometimes I miss it. And sometimes sometimes it's right. You just never quite know. I have to feel it out as I go. But then it is the right amount of newness. Then I just often saying, because there's a look on the face like, this can't possibly be right, or what is this sound I'm making right now, or I can't believe she's having me do this, and just saying regularly, this is normal. This is normal. This is what happened. And getting used to that, and giving them permission to know that just because they're a grown-up doesn't mean that they have an accelerated motor learning development process. If they haven't sucked at anything since they were a kid, like developed motor skills since they were a kid at something, it's very humbling to have to go through that process all over again with something else.
It is.
But that's what it is.
I think one day a singing teacher is going to. Have you ever seen those videos on Facebook where it's the kids tasting, broccoli for the first time, or a lemon, and they'll often put it. What we probably need to do is put together a video of students singing or experiencing things for the new time, because we as teachers we often see these faces of distorted, this can't be right, exactly what you just said before, surely this can't be right, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right, and yet to us as the teacher we might be going, that's it. What you just did. What did you experience when that happened? And
often when something doesn't sound awesome, it's because we've let go of an old habit and we're developing something new. And so often when something doesn't sound great, I'm like, no, that's it. That's it. Sign that we're on the right path. I promise you.
Yeah.
There's sort of this bridge we're crossing right now at this moment. On the other side of that is what you're trying to get to.
Yes. I
appreciate how much they have to trust us to make that journey,
Yeah. I have a little tongue-in-cheek saying in my studio, trust me, I'm a doctor. And but it does take trust, doesn't it? That the teacher is leading you down the right path. And in fact, Shannon Coates, Dr. Shannon Coates, who I'm pretty sure you know, and Shannon was on the show 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about this very subject, about just because it doesn't feel right to you the first time doesn't make it wrong. Just because a kid, tastes broccoli and goes, what is that? And it feels so foreign does not mean broccoli is bad for you. If it were Brussels sprouts, that's a different discussion. But because it's broccoli, it's good for you. But it may not, the initial experience of that broccoli to the child may not be that it's right. It actually might feel like they're being dragged through hell. But yet, I guess the flip side, as I'm thinking, as we're talking here, the flip side to that is there are going to be occasions, aren't there, where a student finds himself with a teacher, and you'll have heard these experiences expressed and told in your studio, as I have in mine, where the student has had a number of lessons and they're always arriving at the end of a lesson and things do not feel right. They feel not just foreign, but they feel wrong. What's your advice to a student that may be experiencing that? Because I think we probably need to just touch on that as a caveat to what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, one important question I think is to ask yourself and to communicate with your teacher about whether something hurts or if it just feels weird.
Yeah.
That's important.
Big difference, isn't there?
So, Yeah, if it just feels weird because
Yeah.
it's new and different, that
Yeah.
may not necessarily be harmful. That may just be weird for you. If it's hurting, you should tell your teacher right away
Absolutely.
so that they know that maybe that's not the right direction for you.
Yeah.
And then if you're, I mean, A, you want a teacher that you can have an open relationship with
Yes.
concerning things that are bothering you, things
Yes.
that feel funny,
Yes.
so that you can converse about what you're thinking.
Mm.
And if they are not able to deal with, or not deal with, if they're not able to talk through and answer questions that you might have about why something feels funny or why something feels weird and where you're going with it, if that's just continually happening, then that might be a difficult situation where you might
Yeah.
want to talk to another teacher and see what's
Yeah.
going on. But, or at the very least, just say, before you go talk to anybody else, be clear, like, I am not feeling great at the end of our lessons. Something
Yes.
feels funny.
Yes.
Something feels wrong. You always want to be open with your teacher directly first about what's
Communication's
going
the
on. And
key, isn't
hopefully
it?
they can,
Yeah.
work through it with you. And at least
Yes.
they know what's going on.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is to not be open with your teacher about what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Hopefully they invite the openness,
Yes.
but you can initiate that if they're not for some reason.
And as I've been in the habit of saying on the channel historically, and I'll say it again, no one teacher can give you everything. Your journey your developmental journey as a singer is typically, you have, it has chapters, and some teachers will journey with you for multiple chapters, but it's very rare, and I can't think of one journey where you would have one teacher that travels with you for the entire book. And so I think it's, there comes a point, I've been teaching for 22 years this year. I don't have anyone in my studio that was my student 22 years ago. There comes a point at which that your journey, your paths must part, and that can be an interesting time that I so concur with what you're saying there, Jess, where the communication's the key, because even a long-term relationship with a teacher at some point will come to a healthy end, but it behoves both parties, the student and the teacher, to help bring it to a healthy end. Otherwise, it can come to an unhealthy end, and you don't want to do that, especially if you've journeyed with a person for 5, 6, 7 years. You want to show mutual respect between each other, because you don't want to lose the relationship that you've forged in that time, do you?
And if you're being open with the teacher,
Yeah.
they may just need to converse with some other teachers and say, hey, I have a student who's experiencing this and I'm feeling a little stuck about it. Can you help? We teachers talk to each other about hopefully teachers, the teachers talking and getting advice from other people, or
Yes.
referencing books, or just like any other professional would do to
Yeah.
be able to serve their clientele best. So if you
Yeah.
let them know what your problems are, they'll be able to, at the very least, begin there and see if they
Yes.
can find some better answers for you. And then, a professional teacher will say, I can't help you with this. Let me refer you to someone else who can help you.
Yes.
So that's one of the qualities you want to look for in a teacher, is someone who
Yeah.
can admit that they don't have an answer for you. They're going to go find out. And if they can't figure it out, they'll send you to
They can
somebody
send
else.
you to someone else. And that shows maturity on behalf of the teacher, and that's that kind of maturity that you want in the studio space at all times, hopefully. Let's get back to the topic that we advertised through the thumbnail, which is the body-mind connection, and I've got this third point here that you've written down, and I'll just read it out. Any work you can do to improve your connection. Let me just change this. Improve your connection with your body, and specifically your understanding of your emotions, and how you experience them in your body, and the more your voice will open up. So we're saying not just thinking now about your body-mind physically, but your body-mind and your psyche, your emotional state. Talk me through your thoughts on that sense of the holistic singer.
One of the things that was enlightening for me was to learn that I was someone who wanted to make emotions something that you think, and I was not particularly great at feeling emotions, literally feeling them in my physical person. And when I started allowing myself to do that, I realized there were parts of my body that I literally had not been able to feel very well, just sensorily, had not been very connected to. Often those were the areas that also had some tension in them. Hips were that area for me. My lower back was one of those areas for me. So with the right person, as I worked through some of that stuff, I found that those areas released and opened and gave me more freedom in my body that affected freedom in my larynx as well, which was interesting. I mean, it's also interconnected.
Yeah.
The fascia system, for instance, is just one big system in your body. And if there's fascia in certain areas that are kind of stuck and not working very well, then it's going to affect the whole system.
Yeah.
Posturally, if there's stuff that's not working well, it's going to affect the whole system. Because your larynx is right in front of your neck. So if stuff around your neck is tight, the larynx might not move and work as well as we need it to. But emotionally, I mean, there's been research that's been done where humans often feel emotions in the same areas in their body pretty universally. And if you think about a little kid who probably hasn't had experiences yet where they've been taught how to police their body and how it shows emotion, you know right away what a little kid is feeling by what they're doing with their body. An angry body looks a certain way. A sad body looks a certain way, right? Emotions are not just what we're thinking. They're very physical. And I find that when I'm working with someone who's having trouble noticing how a certain area of their body is moving, they also seem to have a connection or a difficulty connecting with an emotion that might need to use that part of their body as well when it's time to express that emotion in their voice.
Interesting.
And when we start to help connect those two things a little bit, suddenly it becomes a lot easier for that emotion to go through in their voice without, like if we come at it from a technical way, where I'm like, okay, an angry person might make a louder sound right now. You know, their vocal folds might adduct more strongly as they're making the sound, right? We could talk about all the technical stuff that's happened in the lyrics about the voice, but that doesn't happen as easily for them. And then when we start to do some physical movements that are more connected with being angry, suddenly the larynx begins to do the things that it was not doing as easily before, and they weren't thinking about it. It's just an easier connection starting to happen for them. Now that's a sort of a mechanical way to come at it, but there can be some pretty easy, quick results in physicalizing emotion in the body that the larynx responds to really well.
I love, you know, this idea that you're talking about with the physical states and how that looks and the body's response. There was a pedagogue, and I'll call him a pedagogue as a manner of showing respect, because what I'm about to say, he's going to remain nameless. I didn't agree with what he did, and that was he had developed a thing that he referred to as emotionally centered singing. And basically the premise of his technique was grounded or founded on emotionally driven singing. So find the emotion first and then allow the voice to do whatever the emotion tells it. My observation over time was that was exposing voices to risk. And so I want to just because I know you're not advocating for that. It's a
No.
matter of getting the cart before the horse, isn't it? You need to have that foundational technique in place first, that you can then allow the emotion to inform what the voice does, founded on that technique. Is that, did I just say, did that make
well,
sense?
and often, yeah, okay, I find that a lot of the, okay, so let's say someone has trouble expressing anger in their body. They've sort of held it in, and they have a tendency to do that. That's uncomfortable for them, is to express anger. I find that a lot of people actually have a lot of excess tension in the throat and in the jaw, trying to hold in anger or to make it all happen from here, instead of allowing the anger to happen in other parts of the body where it would naturally happen, which actually allows this to release and relax, which is better for good voice techniques. So regardless of what's happening emotionally in the body, I think some of that stuff comes from some acting stuff where we're trying to take advantage of the body's natural sense of how to behave within different feelings and things that it's trying to accomplish. And that the voice then does some stuff in response to that also. But then we also have to keep in mind that we're doing something a little supernatural with our larynx. We're not having an emotion for a minute. We're having strong emotions for 3-4 hours maybe. So we need to make sure that whatever we're doing here is also can be supported for that amount of time. But if the body's freely moving, freely activating and engaging with emotion, often that can disperse the tension that's happening here, where someone's like, I'm trying to emote, right? I'm trying to feel, trying to get this sound out, right? But they're not using the rest of their body. So a lot of the work is bearing the brunt of a lot of the work in that area. So if we can disperse that.
It's a matter of, I guess what you're saying there, another way to say that, is not allowing the emotion to make you laryngeally focused. I love that idea of dispersing that responsibility, and dispersing that across. Definitely. Wow, let's bring it full circle, because we're going to need to wrap up in a sec. Let's bring it full circle back to. Well, actually, allow me to ask you this question: what is the team of people, do you think, that a developing singer can go looking to scaffold around their journey? Obviously, it's not just the singing teacher. You said that you went and saw some people to help release some tensions and what have you. Who do you recommend that people seek out as a way of this holistic approach that we've been talking about today?
The body work that I experienced was one of many different kinds of body work. I'll tell you what I experienced, but it worked for me because I had tried other things and just found this to be the most helpful. But it was a combination of polarity therapy, craniosacral therapy. It's very gentle work, and that worked really well for my body, which had not responded quite as well to more traditional massage therapy and some other techniques, but some people respond really well to that stuff. So I encourage you to try different stuff out, find what works for you.
Thank you
to
for
help release some of the tension in your body in the frozen areas.
Thank you for owning and grounding that. Because I think other options might include Alexander technique, might include Feldenkrais. Some students I know who have done yoga have found that just wonderfully creating a real sort of physical mindfulness, if you like. Really centering them in on their body. And like you said, some students I've found have really benefited from physiotherapy, voice-related physio. I guess it is important, and it's important that people understand, and those who are watching, that your singing teacher may well play a very significant role in your voice development. But this idea of a multidisciplinary team of people around you that can scaffold your development is I think we've known about it for quite some time, haven't we? And certainly from the rehabilitation place of speech pathologist and a laryngologist and those sorts of things, but also just in the artistic space, I think it's so important to have that, to go looking for that collective team of people that you can garner a variety of experiences. And like you've been saying all today, Jess, what that might empower for you in your understanding of your own voice could be very powerful.
Yeah, and for me, a psychotherapist was sort of the triangle that I needed.
Yeah.
A body worker, a psychotherapist to help me work through some of the emotions
Yes.
that I was like, wow, I don't really know how to feel this, or I don't know why I didn't, I haven't dealt with this before, or why was I uncomfortable with that? That was very important for me.
Yeah.
And there's a branch of psychotherapy now called somatic psychotherapy, where the two sort of come together in a session, which I'm researching more because I find it very fascinating, and I want to find out how that can be useful to singers.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because just in my personal experience, it was such an important thing to put that stuff together.
Yeah.
So I'm looking into that particular branch of psychotherapy more and more.
Yeah, and I've got a counsellor that I regularly refer to. She's in Sydney, actually, which is 1,000 kilometres south of us, but equally she does sessions on Skype. Her name is Jan Cullis, and I've been working in team with her with many students over the years for a long time. And often the students will come back and without, revealing what they've been discussing, because that's not my place, but they'll often say, I didn't realise that situation XYZ was having an impact on my voice. But now that we're talking about it and we're unpacking it and and I'm dealing with it, look at what's happening to my voice. I'm feeling free and I'm feeling released. And so it is so important, I think, for us as developing singers, for those of you who are watching, that you really start to think about this holistic landscape of your development. It's not just, this, your larynge. It's far more. I often say to students, your voice is not this, your voice is this. From top of your head, but it's not, but when I say that, it's not just the physical aspect of that. It's everything that embodies. Your psyche, your emotions, your mental state, your endocrinatic system, all of these things, really build up the body-mind voice that we've been talking about today. Jess, as I suspected, I'm just going to have a look. I thought we may not get to questions today, and I know everyone will be a little bit frustrated that I haven't, because we missed the questions last week, right? Because Daniel crashed his car. Thanks,
I'm
Daniel.
so glad you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Emotionally, I was not well for about 24 hours until I knew I was going to be okay insurance-wise, because it's a very expensive mistake I made. Everyone, we will answer your. I am going to, unless I crash my car again. We will come back next week. We'll do a Q&A. I will dedicate the entire show to Q&A next week. So my apologies that we're not going to get to Q&A today, because I do have a student that's about to walk through the door. So we won't get to Q&A today, Linda. Let's hold on to I'm building this bank of questions that I need to answer. So everyone, please be patient with me. Jess, you have been so wonderful today in being so generous of heart and mind.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm kind of glad for you that that the time difference kind of was a little bit out, wasn't it, by an hour? You're actually you're not on the show as late as you might have been, which is good. For where you are.
I got to be on an hour earlier than I thought I was going to be.
You might even be able to go out and find and catch this band that you were telling me. But it's almost because they don't finish until 2 a.m., right?
Oh yeah, only half the show's done. I could go see the rest.
You could go out and party all night and still.
That's right.
That's right. So let me wrap. I just want to say goodbye. You stick around there. I'm just going to wrap up the show and just let everyone know. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us today. Don't we have the best guests on the show? We really do. These people, I'm proud to say, these people are some of the world's leading pedagogues in the area of contemporary voice. You know, you guys listen to me a lot, right, here on the channel, but it's not just my voice you need to be listening to. There is so much wisdom in the counsel of many, and I really do my best to bring on the best of the best, and this year we have done that, and we've got one more special guest in 2 weeks. She is one of the co-authors of this book. This book, in fact, Lucas, you've written a question. I will answer one question today. Lucas, out of all the books that you have recommended, what is the one we should read first? Lucas, it's this one. Go and grab yourself a copy of this book, The Vocal Athlete. We are going to have Dr. Wendy LeBourne. She's a singing voice specialist. She's on the show in 2 weeks. I am super excited. I get super excited over every guest that we have on the show. But Wendy is going to bring so much to the show, and I'm really looking forward to having her on. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, firstly, make sure you subscribe. Secondly, ring the bell icon just so that you don't miss out on the notifications for when we're going live. We do these live hangouts every Monday, 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I love hanging out with you guys. We will do that again next week, where we will do I promise, we will do a live hangout where I dedicate it to your questions. Apologies that we don't have time to get to them again today, but it's becoming more the norm, isn't it, when we've got a guest on? I apologize. It's just I just want to delve into their awesomeness, and so thanks for being patient. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed today's video. I very much look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.